He just makes this stuff up, doesn't it? Constantly. Good. So yes, morning everybody. Now there's quite a bit of stuff I want to really try and cover with you today, but what I want to do is to give you really an understanding of some of the fundamental principles about how to be successful with Facebook advertising, and then really want to also look at one particular campaign type that you can start with relatively easily at low cost to test it out for yourself, because you know the whole thing is about giving it a go. I mean, you know, you can't go too far wrong. You might waste 10 quid or something like that, but beyond that, you know, once you understand what it is you're trying to do, then spend a small amount of money, see the results, and understand what to do next. And that's why the understanding these principles is really the sort of foundation for it all. And these are the same principles that I keep coming back to time and time again with existing clients and with new clients. So hopefully they'll be useful for you today. So I want to really start off with that. Oh, see, I'm looking at the wrong screen, aren't I? Yes, why pay for Facebook advertising? Then also an understanding as to why it isn't working. So for people, you know, I come across quite a lot of people who say, oh, well, you know, I tried Facebook ads, I spent some money, I didn't get any results or anything. Clearly Facebook doesn't work. Obviously we know that's not true, otherwise Facebook wouldn't have, I think at the latest count they have 5 million advertisers. So as a business, imagine having 5 million clients, 5 million customers, which is why they make billions of pounds. I then want to look at some of the basic principles of online marketing objectives, so you're very clear about what the sequential process is. The thing about Facebook advertising is, on one side, it can appear quite complex, and it certainly has got a lot more complex over the last year as it's got more sophisticated. But underlying that are the same principles that were working 4 years ago when I first started with Facebook ads are still true now. So understanding those, you know, is put you in a great position. And I want to talk about the Facebook Pixel. Facebook Pixel is probably the real underlying power of Facebook advertising. Once you've got an understanding of the Facebook Pixel and how you use and leverage it, then you will actually understand how to get the right sort of results and get a good positive return on investment from Facebook ads. I then want to run through some basic campaign objectives and a campaign example as well. And I might just, depending on timing, talk a little bit more about audiences and targeting. Now this is quite a bit to go through, and so it is important that you really, anything I say, anything I mention, you're not clear about, don't understand, just ask as we go along, because it helps fill in the picture, because it's important that you take away from this ideas of what you're going to do with Facebook ads, or how it might work for you. So first off, why pay for Facebook advertising? Well, what's happening to Facebook on the organic side for people who are using posting just to their pages as businesses? Basically, this is what's happened to your organic reach over the last, 7 years. So back in 2012, you say you'd got 1,000 followers, then you'd guaranteed at least 15% of them would automatically see every post that you put out there. What's happened, obviously, is increase in Facebook has gone up. People's feeds have become more and more crowded, and then advertising starting to kick in majorly about here, which means that's putting more pressure on in terms of the amount of content you fit in a feed, which has basically squeezed out your organic posts. So if you're constantly relying on doing posting just on your Facebook page and relying on that getting out to your audience, it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work anymore. And obviously the major algorithm update that Mr. Zuckerberg introduced has squashed that even further, because what they basically did is decided to prioritize in your feed connections or news or articles from immediate family, friends connections, personal connections, which again is another thing that squeezed out all the business sort of side of things. So I think the current average is around about 2% exposure now in terms of, so trying to build up the idea previously of trying to build up a page and build up 10,000 followers and then relying on them seeing everything you put out there organically, it just doesn't exist now. And that likelihood, that figure will continue to decrease further, which is basically why you need to look at Facebook advertising. So one of the fundamentals about it, you know, the whole point about Facebook advertising is that complete measurability of it. So you can spend some money, you can look at how many people viewed something, how many people clicked on something, how many leads you got, what sales you got. You've got a complete end-to-end metric with Facebook ads in terms of putting £1 in here on ad spend and hopefully getting £1, £10, £20, whatever, back out of it. And you've got complete transparency on that, which is, you know, is pretty unique. I mean, if you look at any other sort of advertising medium, you can't get that level of transparency about it, about the measurability. So you can really quantify your return on investment. The other thing is Facebook advertising is fast. You know, you can actually, I could go home, create a campaign this afternoon, get it live, run a campaign for 3 days, get some results out of it, understand what to do next. So it has a real sort of immediacy. It's not like trying to, you know, post content and share into groups and things like that, and hopefully some people might come and you might have to wait weeks to see whether it's been a, you know, useful investment of your time or a complete waste of money and effort. So it's the speed of it, of being able to test and refine messaging. And that word test is fundamental to all sort of Facebook advertising. The whole thing, whenever I'm running any campaigns, and whether I'm running them for myself on the hub, I'm always considering every campaign is yet another test, because I'm always looking at what the results come out. Is it working in line with what it should? Is it not? What do I need to do and change? So you have to get into that little bit of a mindset about looking at it, seeing what's happened each time in order to decide what to do next. The other thing is, you know, Facebook advertising is very sort of predictable, you know, in terms of you can define the audience you want to reach, how much you want to spend, how long you want the campaigns to work, and you can, once you set those things up and you get a certain level of results, you can just keep it going, and the chances are it will be very predictable in terms of delivering a result. Obviously, the aim is to make sure that you've got a campaign that's working and delivering profitability to you. But once you get there, it's very predictable. And the other thing is, it's completely sort of scalable. You know, as you start to build an understanding of who your ideal audience is and understand how to target them cost effectively, you can effectively increase your budgets, increase your reach, and generally proportionately increase your results from it. Okay, so basically the real conclusions of that really is that, you know, the Facebook advertising can give you that a predictability way to increase your leads and your sales, and it gives you the metrics to quantify your return on investment. And it is, as I say, pretty unique in that respect. So, I flashed by that, didn't I? Basically, the point was, why is it not working? And that's the thing for a lot of people to say, have that experience of spending a little bit of money, not getting a result, and then assuming it doesn't work. Now, I think one of the fundamentals about it is really understanding that Facebook is very different to Google. I think a lot of people, when they're sort of thinking, well, Facebook is still pay-per-click basis, actually, you know, pay your money, try and get the traffic. But understanding it is very, very different to Google. The reason for the images is this contrast between what is Google, which is more a pull marketing and Facebook would just push me, pull you, basically. And I thought it was quite clever. So the idea, obviously, with Google and search is effectively you're typing in your search and you're going and getting the results you want. So effectively, that's a different case of you're pulling the information to you. Facebook is very different. Facebook, effectively, you're pushing your message out and trying to connect with an audience. And you just need to always think is, in Facebook, your real initial goal is all about attention. You can't rely on people searching for it, so you've got to find ways of connecting with that audience and get their attention first. That's the first thing. The second thing is really about, as I said before, it's about testing and measurement. To get good with Facebook advertising, you've got to like numbers. You've got to like looking at numbers. Because the difference between success and failure in Facebook campaigns is small increments in numbers. And I say it's that idea of understanding that you do a campaign and the campaign is a test, and then you look at the results of that test and you use that information to guide you as to what to do next. It's all based on sort of numbers. And the third thing is really you need the Facebook pixel. You need to understand the Facebook pixel. The Facebook pixel is basically the tool that Facebook is giving you to help you succeed. And once you understand, and we're going to look at that in a little bit more detail in a moment, but once you understand what that is and what its purpose is and how you need to use it, then you can really start to make some progress with Facebook. Okay, so basically, you won't succeed with Facebook advertising unless you understand that importance of attention and engagement, primarily, that necessity for testing and measuring, and finally, the need to invest in building your audiences. Whenever you're spending money on Facebook, you're not only looking for initial, obviously, leads and inquiries and sales, but understanding you're investing in building a greater understanding of your audience, who you're looking to target. Hopefully that'll become clearer as we progress. All clear so far? Good. So this is a little bit of something that is not unique or just about Facebook, but it's really understanding the broader goal of what you're looking to do with any sort of online advertising. And really, it's understanding that in that whole equation of how do you make money online, how do you make money from spending some money on advertising, getting some traffic to your website, and getting some conversion. There are those three separate components to think about. And it really is about this engagement, action, and conversion being those three things and three areas of focus. The first one here is audience targeting. You've got to make sure you're talking to the right people. The second thing is you've got the message you put in front of those people is got to be something that is relevant to them, is going to connect to them in order to get them to take action and in most cases looking to get them to move off Facebook and onto your website. So the third component is actually what that offer is when they land on your website. And it's really each one of those represents the three effectively moving parts or components in that equation to getting a successful result out at the end of the day. And often when I'm initially talking to clients, they're sitting here focused on really about what their offer is. Is that going to sort of convert? What sort of things should it be? When they haven't really even figured out this bit here. And I say, well, just don't even worry about that. That could just be send them nowhere, send them to a blank page, send them to Google. It doesn't really matter because unless you get this bit right, nobody's even going to see this. And unless you get that bit right, they're not even going to respond to this. So don't get too far ahead of yourself. Your initial goal is to get these two bits working. Once you know you can find your audience and you can connect with them and get them to potentially do something, take some action, then we can work out what the offer is that's going to get them to convert. And it is by understanding things in a very sort of sequential step, helps you just focus on one thing at a time and get that right. So first and foremost is that, can you identify and engage the audience? The second thing is, will your audience take action, i.e. leave Facebook? And thirdly, will your prospects convert, whether that's a call or opt-in or a buy or whatever. And there are just those three segments. And it's funny that I talk to clients about this right at the beginning when working with them, but we end up coming back to it again and again, because often it's getting too far ahead of themselves. Oh, of course, everybody wants the result as soon as possible, but understanding there is a sequential steps and getting them in that order and working in that order is fundamental. Obviously, once you've got them working, so you've got some result at the end, then it's a question of tweaking each one of those three components to actually make the profit. Generally, when people are starting campaigns, their first campaigns are not necessarily profitable. But actually the difference between a profitable and unprofitable campaign is small percentage shifts in those three areas. Now, one of my Facebook clients is Sarah from Magic Apps, and she sells educational franchises. And we started working with her on this in terms of those three sort of components. And actually we just started by initially just sending the traffic to a web page. And then we started to find the audiences and started to get some initial leads. When we first started 6-7 months ago, it was costing about £35 a lead for her. But actually it was still profitable, more cost effective than any other marketing channel she was using. So she was happy with that, but I was thinking, we've got a long way to go. But we got a result, we got some results. And then it was just a question of making tweaks on the audience, making tweaks on the ad proposition, and making tweaks on the landing page. So 6 months later, the leads are now costing £3.50. So they're a tenth of the cost. But that's all from just tweaking and refining.
So in terms of sending traffic to the website, was that Google AdWords or Facebook?
That's all 100% Facebook, yeah, 100% Facebook. Exactly, understanding, just refining the targeting and then refining the ads, because the whole thing is testing. So you're always split testing, trying to find what messages connect better, and then using that information to build better audiences, and then measure what happens when they hit the landing page, refine the offer and the messaging there. And it's just, but that's the beauty of Facebook is you've got all those numbers for you. You've got exactly your audience numbers, what's happening on your ad level, and what's happening on your landing page. And so I say, once you've got that benchmark, then it's a question of really just fly. Strange. It's like a slightly dormant fly. Right, where were we? So this whole mechanism is I have my lovely Venn diagram here. Because that whole goal is to actually improve your audience targeting, so you get a better match between your audience and your ad message. You get a greater overlap, a greater connection. And the greater connection there, the likely you're going to get a more increased overlap and connection with your website offer. And so it's by refining each of these, you increase the overlap of those three areas, which obviously gives you your campaign success. The other big sides to that is because Facebook is a bit like sort of Google, with Google's their sort of quality scores in terms of how much you pay for your ads. Facebook has a relevance score, and so Facebook want to make sure that or they want to encourage advertisers to create ads and only target people who are likely to be interested in things, because obviously people don't want their feeds spamming with irrelevant ads. So if you produce good ads and if you produce well targeted that people are interested in, you'll get reduced costs. And obviously when you've got that greater overlap between your message and your proposition, you're going to get higher conversion. The more conversions you get, the better idea you've got of what makes an ideal customer for you. And you can feed that information back into the Facebook pixel, and then Facebook will actually help you find more people who are likely to convert. Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of the audience and profile and demographic will obviously be different in Instagram, but obviously, always the universal answer is test. Because the fact is, Facebook, you'll be able to see who's responded on Instagram and the profile of the type of person who's responded on Instagram. Instagram tends to have a younger demographic, and it also tends to be slanted more into the health, beauty, fashion, wellness arena. That's where I think people tend to have more commercial success, if you like it, from it. But yeah, you don't know until you test. But that's what it's there for. So that basic idea, makes sense to everybody, because that's really what has got to sit at the back of your mind when you're doing any Facebook ads. So 3 things to consider: am I talking to the right audience? Is my message going to connect with them? And does my offer compel them to take action? Right. So the interesting bit of this all is the Facebook pixel. Anybody who's aware of the Facebook pixel and what it does? Okay. Right, okay. So really, I wanted to talk a little bit about what it is, how you use it, and why it's important. So here's me in the same shirt. Fortunately, I must invest in a second shirt. So obviously everybody on Facebook has got their own ID, their unique ID. And in that ID, you've got information really about your demographics, age, gender, location, whatever, all the information you freely give to Facebook when you signed up. Whether you made it up or not is another matter, or whether it's true or not. They've got information about demographics. They've also got information really about sort of characteristics, sort of things you've interests, likes and dislikes. But more importantly, they've got information about your behaviors. So wherever you go and whatever you do on Facebook is recorded, is part of your profile. So things you've chosen to engage with, like, share, comment, Facebook has got that in your ID. And the actions you've taken, whether you're somebody who is quite passive in terms of their approach to sort of Facebook and just looks at stuff, but versus somebody who actually is far more actively engaged, actually clicks on more stuff, actually goes through and buys more stuff. That information is all stored in your ID. But obviously it extends beyond that, because whenever you're logged into Facebook and then you go off onto other sites via the cookie, Facebook is picking up data about what other websites you've been, what other things you've done off Facebook as well. And basically, the Facebook pixel stores all this data. So all this data, obviously this big thing about Cambridge Analytica and etc. That data is all there, so they can tell what type of person you are, what sort of your intent behind certain things is. They've got all that sort of profile as an ID, which is obviously massively powerful. Because when it comes to what you can do with that data, effectively there are two places you can use the pixel, but fundamentally you can use this pixel to build a highly detailed understanding of who your target audience is. Now you can do this in two fundamental ways. You can do it in off Facebook, which is basically on your website. So when you set up an ad account with Facebook, they give you a piece of code, and you put that piece of code onto your website. So then anybody who visits your website, it's got an understanding of all those Facebook IDs. It's got an understanding of who the characteristics, profile, and behaviors of somebody who visits your site. Now, obviously, once you start to build up lots of people doing this, it starts to build up a real picture of the sort of people that actually are interested in what you offer. And then you can use that data to tell Facebook, I want more people like this who've already visited my website. So that in itself is quite phenomenal if you understand what the implication of that is in terms of Facebook doing a lot of the hard work for you, really. There's the other side of it, is what the pixel's doing on Facebook. So anybody who's interacting with your content that you put out on Facebook, whether it be just interacting with your page and posts, or whether it'll be watching your videos, again, it's using that data to understand what type of person is interested in what it is you do. And again, you can use that data to help build up an audience who you want to target, and then ask Facebook to find more people like that. So, I mean, obviously you can see probably why the Facebook pixel is so valuable, because basically it'll give you far more accurate targeting. So rather than anybody who might thought about, oh yeah, Facebook, you can just do a bit of people of this age and live in this location who might be interested in this. There's so much more depth you can add into that by using the Facebook pixel. I say, not only in terms of that real interest specifically in what it is you do, but also people who are more likely to take the right sort of actions. More people who are likely to buy stuff or really looking, properly looking for what it is you offer. So obviously when you get more accurate targeting, you can produce ads that are more relevant to an audience that you're trying to connect with, which generally will lead to increased conversions, decreased ad costs, and increased return on investment. It's really all about honing in on the right type of person for your particular business. And basically, the pixel is the key to that. And to be able to use that pixel and then to be able to expand and scale to hopefully find a lot more of the right type of customers for your business. All good? Okay, so the conclusion of that really is your goal is to generate more data for your Facebook pixel. Because obviously the more type of people you can get to interact with your content or visit your website, the more enriched picture, if you like, you've got of your ideal customers. Okay, now we'll look at briefly about Facebook campaign objectives, and then we'll get into a specific campaign. I don't know how long I'm supposed to be talking for, by the way.
Well, we usually have a little break at 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock.
And then we have...
Oh, well, maybe what I'll do then is if I go, just talk a little bit about this, then we'll have a little break, and then we'll come back, give your brain a chance to settle down, and we'll look then at a specific campaign that I think, anybody in the room could take on and run. Sound okay? Yeah? Okay, good. So when you actually head into the world of Facebook advertising and you go to your ads manager, Facebook will actually sort of, well, what is it you want to do? And then that usually confuses most people because they go, well, which one of these things do I need to do? And unfortunately, some people start over here at things like brand awareness and stuff, which is not really very good unless you've got big, deep pockets and you're a big brand and you're just out, just trying to cover as many people as possible. Yes, okay, so they separate it into awareness, consideration, and conversion. And on the left, they've got brand awareness and reach. In the middle, we have traffic, engagement, app installs, video views, lead generation, messages. And on the conversion, we've got conversions, catalog sales, and store traffic. Now, funnily enough, often people go, oh, I need brand awareness, or I need sales. Neither of those really work for small businesses. Because it comes back to what I was saying right at the beginning. Your initial goal is finding that audience, is engagement. Because without making that connection, you're not going to get either your conversions and, say, brand awareness is a bit chucking it out there to everyone and hoping for the best. So your focus really is going to be in this sort of middle area here, because it is that, first off, is engagement. So your focus is on engagement here. Now, engagement can come in two forms. It can be just engagement with your post, liking, commenting, sharing, that type of thing. Or another form of engagement is people watching a video that you've produced. And we're going to be looking at these two components in the campaign, because it's that sort of thing. You move from the idea, the basic principle is you move from the idea of engagement is your first stage to find your audience. Once you find the audience, the next stage is you move into traffic. Traffic is really all about getting clicks. Once you've gone into traffic and you've got that working, you've got people moving over to your landing page or taking some action, you can start to build conversion campaigns. And it's doing it in those three sort of simple steps, keeping it nice and simple and structured about what you do. Going back to with Sarah at the Magic Ads franchise, that's exactly what we started with. We started with engagement, trying to find the right sort of messages that would connect with that audience. Then moved into traffic to try and send as much traffic to the website, to the web page, to see how people responded to it. What people do when they get to the web page, there's basically it's a download a brochure for more information. Once we'd started to get enough people going to the website, filling in the form, we could then define that as a conversion. I don't want to lose you on this, but the fact is, once we could do that, we could define it as a conversion. Once you get enough conversion happening, you can then sort of say to Facebook, just find me more people who are likely to convert. And you can start to sort of forget the confines of your own targeting ideas, just rely on Facebook's algorithm to understand what type of person converts and just say, go find me more people like that. And that's where your conversions absolutely drop in terms of costs. But you can't get there in one step.
Can I just ask that you're managing a Facebook campaign and you're looking at Google Analytics all the time? Is that the two things traffic to your web?
No, you can get all that information from within the pixel.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you're primarily looking within the pixel data. It'll tell you how many people have hit certain pages, well, pretty much any page on your website. Because the idea is you install the Facebook pixel site-wide across all the whole site. And so then it tracks people as to what pages they've gone to. So with something like a conversion, something specific, I usually say to people, create a unique page just for your Facebook stuff, because then you've got a clear, simple thing that's not confused with people happening across the page via any other route. We know it's completely attributable to the campaign. That makes sense?
Is the pixel compatible with Google Analytics code? So I suppose they live on a separate platform. So I guess if you are pointing people to a Facebook specific page as part of this tracking journey, the Facebook code, then it shouldn't really affect the analytics that you draw from other platforms, for example.
No. I mean, yeah, I mean, generally most people have got Google Analytics and the Facebook Pixel site-wide. So yeah, and you know, quite often they will agree with each other. There's always some slight discrepancy. It depends on the reporting timing, etc. But you should get similar results out of Google Analytics to what you'll get out of the Facebook Pixel. But anyway, as I say, it's not to get bogged down with this. It's just to try and say that there are lots of sort of stuffs out there that you can get more into, but we'll try and keep things as simple as possible. So basically, that's it. It's all about that engagement, action, conversion, and seeing it in those three sort of steps. So the one thing I want to take away is the fact that the sort of campaign you're doing is really all about finding that audience. Because once you've sort of found them and you can get some connection with them, then you can do all sorts. You can do whatever you like with them after that. You know, develop different ideas. But finding people who want to connect with you, connect with what it is you offer, connect with what it is you stand for. Okay, so probably at that point we will have a brief break and give you time to digest, and then we'll get into a specific campaign.
Okay, if you're...
Thank you very much. So hope you've let that all digest and forgotten most of it now. So what I want to do is get back into a bit more the practical side of things, about thinking about how you'd go about it. I'm going to use an example campaign that I ran, so hopefully you can start to parallel that a little bit. So very much with this part, if you want to, if you've got any direct questions about how it might relate to you, then ask away. So that first fundamental thing, as I said, it was all about that engagement really, is figuring out, is my target audience actually on Facebook, and can I identify and engage with them? So basically I looked at how do I test this? And as I said, the primary starting point really is a post-engagement campaign. But I've added the element of, what's that bit, Stuart?
No, didn't know. I've got no idea. Never seen that before.
Anyway, so in this case, I'm suggesting using video, which normally sends everybody a little bit, the idea of doing video. But actually these days on, using video, particularly using video on sort of social platforms, is not something that you need to sort of stress about. It's not about being perfect and looking fabulous all the time and looking like, a sort of BBC presenter or anything like that. It's really a case of getting your phone out, connecting up a lapel mic, which I use costs about £5 or something like that, stick it on a tripod and record something. So, and everybody's really got something of interest to share. You've got your own sort of business, products, services, you've got things that you're passionate about, and things that people could really do with knowing, and whether that's a simple just how to do something that that your audience probably wants to know, or whether it's a little bit behind the scenes, this is how we do something, this is how we put it together. Often I say to people is think about really probably what are the top 3 questions pretty much every new customer will ask when they first start to work with you. Everybody's got those. Everybody knows that they get asked the same questions over and over again. And start with those ideas. What are those 3 questions? I mean, we've all got them somewhere. We know that people are always asking. And then use those as a sort of starting point to say, how can I share some of that information just in a video, just in a 2-3 minute video? Some little tip, some little snippet that answers a question that you know your audience has got. So, and it could be like, common mistakes, top tips, something you've got to share, because there's so much that we take for granted as small businesses that we assume our potential customers know. And then it's only till, those 3 questions keep coming back at us time and time again, we realize actually probably that people don't know, or we assume they know a lot more than they do. Okay, so we're looking at that post-engagement campaign. Now, first rule about Facebook advertising is don't hit that boost button. Everybody's done that. Yeah, did you get any results from it?
Yeah.
Well, there we go. First person I know who's answered that.
Very odd people following us now.
And that's the thing, isn't it? Is the fact that it's just indiscriminate almost. I don't know, somehow that Facebook, leads you to believe that that's the result you've been looking for. Just hit that button, job done. Hit that done, spend a bit of money, wait for the sales to come in. Because fundamentally, what it gives you very limited access to what any targeting information is. The whole, really where you want to get to with your Facebook ads is you decide what your audience is, and in Facebook you pre-build that audience. Then you create your message, and then you put that message in front of the audience you've built. Often when you hit the Facebook boost button, it just says, we'll send it to people who like your page and their friends. Well, what use is that? Absolutely zero. People in your local area. Well, based on what? Just people in your local area. So it's quite indiscriminate. And you can add some custom audiences, and potentially you can create some audiences. But very few people tend to go for those options. So most people just go, oh, yeah, people who like the page and their friends. That's got to be loads of people. Spend 10 quid, run it for 3 days. Like I say, get indiscriminate people from wherever liking your page and not doing anything. So instead, it's about going to the Facebook Ads Manager. If you look at your main Facebook page, a little arrow on the top right-hand side, it goes Manage Ads. And it takes you to an ads manager. And then what you do is you click on the engagement. Now, there is, by the way, for obviously Hub members, in the members area of the Business Hub members area, there is a workbook that goes along with this that literally sort of spells it all out for you. It's uploaded there as a PDF. I'm sure if anybody needs that, Stuart can point it to you.
Yeah, when we put the video files up, I will link in the videos underneath them in the comments to the particular workbook Jonathan's talking about.
Just so you've got it to run along with. Anyway, so the whole BizWheel is a post-engagement campaign. So I say that's really all about creating a post on your Facebook page. Then it's going and creating an audience, and then go and tell Facebook, say, show that post to this audience. This is what you're looking to do. So once you've got that basic idea, the people go, yeah, well, okay, well, what should I post? What particular product or service? Now, fine, if you've only got one product or service, then there's no problem. But more often than not, people have multiple products or services, even when it comes, I guess, down to, bookkeeping. People don't buy that. They're looking for something more specific, probably. So it breaks down to that. Who are my ideal audience? And what is my proposition? And finally, how will I get their attention? These are all the 4 questions you need to be able to answer, because they're the sort of things that are going to make the content of your post. So the first thing is, what products should I use? And I always say to clients, start with something that's already working. So if you've got a particular product or service, you know customers either already buy on a regular basis, it's quite a simple sort of product. You've got some proof already that if they don't buy or if they can't engage with them, it's not the product's fault, it's the fact it's your targeting's fault. So you're just narrowing down the variables. You say, look, I know if this product's put in front of the right person, they buy it. So start with something that's already working, you're already selling in some other market in some other way. So we know that there's nothing wrong with the product, yeah? So by simplifying the number of possible things that could go wrong with your campaign, if you know that the number one thing is that that particular product, people have already bought it, so there can't be anything wrong with it. So I'm taking an example of something that I did, something that I would offer then. Something here is free Facebook training, very much like this. So then, who is your ideal audience? Now, in terms of beyond the basics of age range and the demographics and that sort of side of things, is really looking at beyond that demographics on what are the sort of I call the pains and gains. And that is really all about looking at your audience and saying, okay, the pains being what are their problems, challenges, frustrations pertaining to your particular product or service, and what are the gains? What is the solution and the outcome they're looking for? Is it great fashionable shoes that you can wear in the office that are flat? You don't have to wear heels to look great. So it's understand and create a simple list of those two things, because you're going to use those ideas or those sort of messages to really try and make sure you attract your audience. Because inevitably what you're going to do with your targeting, you're going to push this post out to a reasonably broad audience, because you're interested in who's going to connect back with it, because you're going to build an audience based on people who connect with it. So you have to go initially a little bit broader than you would as you develop your targeting. So my example very broadly is I'm targeting business owners in Farnham. This was for I did back in April. So basically the gain, the outcome that they're looking for is to grow their business, i.e. get more leads and sales. And the pain element was stop wasting their marketing investment. Now, obviously it's more elaborate than that, but you get the gist of what that's about. So the third thing is what is my proposition going to be? And so the whole idea here is that you're looking to connect what it is you actually do, what that particular product or service has. Connect that to either removing a problem, removing a challenge, removing a frustration, or accentuating and leading them to the positive outcome. So by way of example, attend this free training, which is like basically a product feature, and discover how to stop wasting your money, is removing a pain, and get better results from Facebook advertising, is accentuating the gain. So just having that very simple approach will allow you to create a really simple proposition to get out there. Yeah, well with that?
So I guess for many businesses it would be hard to identify what are the pains and gains, because we can very often assume what they could be, but they not necessarily could be the pains and gains for the audience that we're going for.
Well, by testing this, you'll find out, won't you? I mean, that's the whole point is, how well do you understand the audience? Can we put something out there and connect? If we start pushing something out there to what we believe is the right audience, and we're getting no connection with it, well, either we got the targeting wrong or the message. Fundamentally, broadly speaking, for most small businesses, your audience is on Facebook. So whether you can connect with them or not is down to, can you target them and can you get the right message? So that's your goal with it. And that's why you're using campaigns, is to test those messages, test those propositions, see what people connect with. It's a learning experience. As I say, it's that test and measure and evolve.
You actually run an ad and ask them what's their pains and gains, and then
You could run a simple survey or something like that. You could run a poll on Facebook and suggest what there might be and get them to vote for them. Potentially, yeah. But again, most people know, again, from their conversations with the clients, what are their real frustrations. The reason why they've come and had the conversation with you in the first place. They've got an issue, they've got a problem somewhere. And also, they've got an idea of what solution and outcome they want, what they want fixed, what it'll look like when it is fixed. Yeah.
There are 8 main topics that doesn't matter what industry you're in, broad topics that people tend to respond to. And if your proposition doesn't fit into one of those, very, very purposefully fit into one of those 8 topics, then you'll struggle because people won't see the immediate benefit. And these 8 topics are what marketers and salespeople use all the time. And I'm not going to run through mainly because I can't remember all of them. But if you ask me at the end, I will send you my copywriting manual.
It's got them in there, is it?
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Not randomly, I'm just going to send you this. I'm just going to spam you. I mean, really, just for no reason. Okay, and then the point is how are we going to get their attention? And that comes back to that video bit that we're going to put together. And it's really about sharing either some personal insights, some experience that you got, some expertise, some value with them that targets those particular pains or gains. Right? And my particular slant I chose is, here's why hitting the post boost button is wasting your money. So it was trying to, again, talk to that audience of small business owners, trying to engage and connect them within something, telling them something they maybe don't know, sharing a bit of value about why they shouldn't do something, getting their attention, maybe a bit of intrigue, that sort of thing. So if I can put something out there, the people who are going to be interested in and watch that are likely to be the sort of people who will be interested in learning more about Facebook and training. I'm not sure. No, I mean, it's purely a bit of video content delivering a viewpoint. You know, Facebook is full of it. Yeah.
Can I just ask? I don't subscribe to Facebook at the moment. But
Right.
I'm looking to.
Yeah.
So is this really like cold calling? So your advert will hit the customer rather than the customer searching and hitting your.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're defining an audience of people you want to see this message. So yeah, and you don't really need to worry about having a Facebook page with loads of following on it or whatever. You could start with a brand new Facebook page with 0 following on it. The Facebook ads sits outside of that because, as I say, you're defining an audience and you're saying show this particular thing to these people. And you can even make sure you can exclude people. Say if you want, say you're doing a lot of campaigns and you have got quite a following, you don't want all people who you're following to see all these ads you're doing, you can exclude the people who are already following your page, so you're purely attracting new people. Yeah. So yes, here's my campaign with a big arrow on my nose. So what I did is literally I put together a short video, as I say. That's me sat down with a phone, recording it. It was about a 3-minute video, just talking about, I say, this really bugs me about Facebook advertising. Despite me sort of slightly appearing to slag Facebook off, no, there's no issue with it. Clearly. Sorry? I probably borrowed that one, especially for it. Yeah. Okay, so yes, that was a simple thing. So it was a short 2-3 minute video. As you can see in the post, there's quite a lot of copy on it as well. Effectively, the copy here is purely a transcription of what was in the video. So because obviously some people will watch the video, some people will read the post. And there is obviously a link in here, and then obviously a link there. So a very sort of simple way of just putting something out and testing it. And I believe anybody can put together a very simple, quick video sharing a little bit of tip or sort of a new product that's just come around. You know, just even if it's just a case of, you know, just going to get some feedback on it.
And that then will click on call to action and take to your website.
Could take them to a website, yes, or you could have it as a messenger button, you know, click instant messaging. Depends obviously what you're looking to do. In this case, obviously it was going to an Eventbrite page for people to actually book an event. But if it's something, you know, a bit more immediate, and I think, you know, the increase in Messenger is growing considerably now. It's often probably a good idea. You know, you could finish your video, say, look, if you've got any questions about this or want to know more, just click the messenger button. I'll get straight back to you. So if you're using it just to test an idea, you know, it's a great way of doing something.
So I'm just thinking, actually, with my shoes,
Yeah.
in some ways I shouldn't send them straight to the buy button. They need a bit more, and it's, you know,
Absolutely. Again, you're thinking engagement here. That's our goal. You know, you have to. Some people may go and still click and find you out and buy stuff, but the whole idea is you're engaging it. So yes, I would say for something like you, it's very much a case of either just talking about the issue of it in the workplace and where do you find, or it might be how I came up with the ideas, or the design process, or the production process, or the materials, or I mean, you've got a gazillion angles you could come at it from. And as I say, for you, doing something like that and then just having the message button below means you don't even need a website.
You could produce a really interesting video of you soaring off the heel of a shoe
yeah.
and say, this is how it all started.
This is what I do to all my shoes, yes.
But that's the reason we use video for Facebook. I'm not interested in creating a fantastic video. I'm interested in just getting people to go, what the hell is he doing this week?
Yeah.
Because A, it makes it more interesting and challenging for me creatively, but also people actively now follow those videos, and therefore we've got more engagement with those events and the hub in general. I mean, look, the room, say no more. And that's down to Gareth's targeting with some great content.
So yes, yeah, don't worry about, say, the slick professionalism. Just get your store out. Get your store out, get your camera.
I call it the calls for pause, right? You need to break the flick scroll with something that makes people go, what's that? And if you can do something surprising, interesting, weird, just plain out there, you've got much more of a chance of people's pattern recognition going, hang on a minute, stop, I don't understand this, what is that? And then you get that 5 seconds of interest, which you can then, that's the spark. And if you don't have that, and it's the same as everybody else's, I actively do what everybody else isn't doing in my field because people find it much more engaging. And that's all I want, that 5 seconds of attention.
Yeah. So, I mean, and I think that's a lot of what you're looking to just do in that video as well, is to demonstrate some sort of empathy, some sort of connection, with who it is you want to talk to anyway, who is going to be the right type of customer for you. So, Stuart was saying, you can all, polarize yourself, if you like, to a certain extent, because there's a certain type of person and people you want to attract and connect with anyway.
And just to jump in on that, the reason that I've magnified and wear the suits and all the rest of it is the type of people that the type of people who I was getting when I didn't wear the suits didn't fit my business and who I wanted to do business with. They were way too reactive. The people who are attracted to this are more chilled, more laid back, and are more likely to want to work with us rather than seeing us as someone to phone up and complain to. So it just makes for a much nicer all the way around business.
Okay, good. So really, I mean, here's what I did. It was a 3-minute video in total. I ran it for 4 days. Cost per 10-second view is 4p. Not that a 10-second view is worth an awful lot, but you know, reached out to 6,500 people. So this is where it gets a bit more interesting, and the idea of the metrics that you can get from Facebook. 106 people watched 25% of the video, 48% watched 50% of the video, generated 47 clicks. So you get probably an understanding that as people got into it, watched about halfway through it, go, yeah, it looks interesting. You know, I'll click through from that.
One interesting metric to look at there is you've got 47 links clicked and 48 people watched to 50%. So that means that there's something happening around about 50% of the way into that video. The B test to this, I would try and get into the first 10, 15 seconds. So that's why looking at the data is really important, because you can go, oh, actually, yeah, about the same amount of clicks to the people who watch 50%. Doesn't necessarily correlate, but can we do something with that?
I mean, it's you know, I mean, obviously Facebook tend to sort of recommend that you keep your videos more around 30 seconds, but there's a reason why I did do it at 3 minutes, and that comes back to that building an audience, because again, I'm adding data to my pixel all the time, because these people who've watched 25% of it, those 100 people, I can retarget those people with a different offer, because they've already said they're obviously interested enough in the subject and what I mean. So they've got, you know, they've already sort of stuck their hands up to a certain extent and said, this is something I'm interested in. So now I can go, okay, I've now captured that information. Now I can retarget them with a different slant on an offer, or additional products or additional services that may fit, because this one may not have been right for them. But it may not have been right for them just because it just wasn't the right time, or they moved on to something else, you know, gazillion other reasons. But basically, it's something that they're interested in. Otherwise, they'd have skipped off after 10 seconds.
My big fear is that spend could go through the roof. So can you have a budget on it and say when you can?
Yeah.
Otherwise
Yeah.
you can spend a lot of money. With it.
Yeah, you know, no. I mean, you definitely can. I mean, I could have spent sort of £1 a day. I could have spent £4.
So you can set your budget.
Yeah, complete control.
Do you only pay if once they've gotten past 10 seconds, and you don't pay the amount that you put in front of?
No, you're not. Well, you are paying per sort of impressions ultimately, but because of the way that they measure it, that's their sort of benchmark in terms of a charge point. A charge point comes in when somebody's watched 10 seconds of it. Now, obviously, you could try and cram your whole message into the first 10 seconds, but
Yeah, but I'm saying if it's in front of 6,000 people, you don't pay per person spent.
no.
You only pay for it, stop there for 10 seconds.
Yeah. And I say, so the reason why you potentially would do a slightly longer video is you want to see how these numbers drop off, you know, because obviously somebody who's at this level is barely engaged. These people are reasonably engaged, and these people are very engaged.
Can you tell whether or not they were on mute or not from your analytics?
No, but obviously if you use captions on it, then they automatically kick in. Yeah, you use
I tend to scroll mine from your analytics. If I'm interested, I might hit play after 10 seconds. So.
but exactly. So that's why it's important to get a bit more feedback on it.
90% of people watch videos on Facebook with no sound.
Yeah.
Subtitles if you're on the train or something.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it's important you always add those in to it. Anyway, that worked. A different type of one was for a client who they organise international car rallies for classic cars. It's a very expensive classic car. You have to have your own car and get it shipped wherever around the world. They recently did one just over over the Himalayas or something like that? Yeah. You know, obviously, you know them.
Can I go on and steal all those people that follow that?
Funnily enough, you can. Right. So again, very, you know, similar sort of idea and approach. We're going quite broad with our audience. It's a bigger business, bigger sort of proposition for it. This was actually a 2-minute video. It was ran over 30 days. Here, a cost for a 10-second view was just 1p, reaching 36,500 people. 5,600 whatever watched 25%. Just over 1,800 people watched 75%. 95 link clicks. Bearing in mind, the link click wasn't the objective of it. This is an aside, really. My goal was to build an audience of people to retarget with future rallies.
How do you select your audience in the beginning?
Well, you start by really trying to have a sort of a good picture in your mind of, you know, that whole customer avatar thing you've probably come across and looked at. A really an understanding of who they are, what sort of things they interact with. If we've got time, we'll have a look at some stuff on audience building. But actually, they spent £112 and got 17 leads. But bear in mind, their products sell for many thousands of pounds. It was actually worked out very cost effective. But I say, this bit was all, this bit here and the clicks and the sales leads was all sort of incidental, really, because my goal was really all about building an audience, because, you know, they're organising these rallies every few months. So we know we can build an audience of people who are likely to be interested in stuff. And when you're retargeting this group of people, because there's a stronger relevance and connection, the cost of those ads will be a lot cheaper. That's down to 1p because of its increased relevance compared to my campaign. You see they've got 655 likes, 312 shares. That's huge. Absolutely huge.
That was to say nobody watched the whole video.
No, some people did watch the whole video. Yeah. But again, there's a sort of real drop off. But there's to a point where, you know, 75% is good enough, because I think, you know, people have watched enough to understand it, probably read a bit of copy, decided whether it's something they definitely want to learn more about, or they'll pass it by till next time. But obviously, we know who they are now, so we can go back to them.
So with that one there, then, you want to do it to build the data up, build people up. So once they've shared or liked that, they are naturally then in your Facebook viewing area anyway. So you don't have to do an advert next time, you can just do a post. Is that right?
Well, yeah, but again, organic posts get zero reach virtually. So you
Even though they'll be in your group.
absolutely, yeah. Organic stuff is pretty much dead. Yeah, exactly. All those algorithm changes, and I say the sheer competition,
It's not really about building up a big group, getting lots of people to come into your group anymore.
Well, Facebook groups is different to Facebook pages. Facebook groups can be very good, very powerful, and very engaging, and a high levels of engagement within them. But a Facebook page, where people tend to just follow the page, yeah, the followers these days have a lot less impact. You're probably better off if you're looking at building a community. Your next step might be to build a group rather than a page.
We always try to build up the followers.
Yeah.
But there's no point in that.
No, because you can use your followers to help build an audience, build a custom audience and things like that. You can use them, but they're not something in the same way as worth trying to focus on as an objective. There are other things you could focus on that would be more cost effective for you.
Can I ask you one question? We use videos a lot,
Hmm.
but I like the fact lots of people watch it and like it. I've never used that data to build the next one.
Yes.
Can you show us that, or is that something we will have to learn ourselves?
It's a little bit more complex in terms of getting into that. But what you can do is over time, say you've produced, 10, 20 videos, you can build an audience using the combination of all the videos you've done and get collectively a bigger pool of data. And then you can use that data and then say again, I want to create an audience of anybody who's watched more than 25% of any of my videos. Yeah, it'll tell you that, and then you can use that and say to Facebook, okay, find me lots more people who match that same profile.
So can you add pixel to stuff that you've done before in the past and it's still giving you the tracking?
The tracking is only effective from the date you put the pixel on your website. Obviously, the stuff on Facebook, yes, it's built up from since you had your Facebook page, since you started producing stuff. But yeah, no, you can't go retrospective on your website. Yeah. No, it is. Where are we? Quick
10 minutes.
Quick 10 minutes. Do you want me to carry on, or people got more questions about just what we've done so far? I don't really know myself what's coming up, so I've got a blank screen on here.
Oops.
3 main targeting options, which I'll quickly cover. They are saved audiences, custom audiences, and lookalike audiences. This is what Facebook calls them. And the whole idea, again, rather than hitting that boost button and trying to select some stuff, it's all about pre-building an audience, and then your post or your ad, and make sure that ad gets shown to that audience. Often people start at the saved audience, and they're using the saved audience. So, say the rally round and the video, I would have built a saved audience first, right? So I built that saved audience based on people who like car magazines or classic car magazines or classic cars or a certain age demographic, etc. Show the video to them. The video gets lots of views. People who are watching that 25%, that's in the pixel. I use that pixel data to create the custom audience, which is obviously a lot smaller but a lot more detailed. I then use the custom audience to then say to Facebook, find me lots more people who look like this audience. And then it expands probably an audience of a couple of thousand up to an audience of 500,000, 1 million, whatever. So basically the saved audience is based on really more on demographics and interests. Custom audiences, there are a number of ways you can create a custom audience. If you've happen to have a big email database of past customers, contacts, things like that, anything above 1,000 plus people you'll need. And what happens, you can upload a CSV file of purely just email addresses, and Facebook will match that with its own database and say, have we got people with this email address to give them Facebook? Yeah, I don't know. Everybody says that. I wish I knew the answer to that. I literally don't know the answer to that. But I mean, at the end of the day, what you are doing to a certain extent is you are giving information to Facebook, even though there's no more information apart from the email address. Yeah. Whether you will be able to down the line. Currently you can. And obviously it matches them to Facebook IDs. So as long as your email address is the same email address that people are using to log into Facebook, it'll find a match, and then it'll find a match and go, oh, it's that person, they've got that ID, oh, they've got this lot of characteristics behind them.
Wow.
Yeah, but you're not giving...
But you're not targeting them people by email address.
No.
It's a set of characteristics that you're actually using. But as I say, you need to get over 1,000 matches before it'll accept it. So for a lot of people, that's not really an option. The other side is website data. So again, having your pixel on your website. If you haven't got that done and you have got a website, do that right away, because obviously as soon as that's on, it's starting to build that data up, starting to build a profile up. And it's great. It's free. You know, it's there. It's out there and working. And then the third element is the Facebook engagement. By that I mean people who've liked your page, people who've watched your videos, people who've engaged with your content. You can use all that data to create a custom audience.
Add Pixel to your website. Then Facebook know when someone's gone to it. Can you find out from Facebook who's gone to a competitor's site?
From that journey.
So if I
Dip-
said, can you target anyone who's gone to any other printer?
No. No, not unless. No, you could target people who've probably been to sort of like big brands and things like that. I think I've got something on this in a second. But no, not that.
So if someone comes to my site, and I've got Pixel,
Yeah.
and that's recorded in Facebook, no one else can see that they've come to my site.
And the final is the lookalike audience. And the lookalike audience is you need a custom audience in order to build one of these. And this is obviously where you can start to really scale. Because it's got a good understanding of a profile of your type of customer you're looking for. It can match it to its massive data source and then find more people like that. So, and that tends to be the sequence people go through to start with. Start with that simple saved one in order to get that video out there, start building data here as you move towards. Phenomenal, yeah, you know, and it is always moving and changing, but yeah, it's incredible what you can do. Yes, the Ads Manager, that's where if you go to Ads Manager. But I'm not going to get into the detail of the interface because people will get lost. Just a quick thing on that saved audiences, because that's, say, areas where people start to think about creating this initial profile. Yes, think about their demographics, how old they might be. Are they male, female? Are they both? Geographic locations, simple level of interests. But when you're thinking about just interests and saying it's shoes, you know, you don't just type in, you know, women's shoes as an interest, although that would work, but it would give you a massively wide audience. Think about other things about your particular customer. You know, are there certain personalities that they follow that are indicative of their type of person they are? You know, the amount of money they spend. Do they follow certain fashion designers, say, because that's indicative of they're interested in more high-end products? You can type them as, you know, you can put Jimmy Choo in the interests thing rather than just shoes. Think about other sort of brands, other sort of probably big high street brands, particular big websites. You know, so you know, for motor vehicles or whatever. You know, is it Auto Trader or whatever? Not your market, isn't, but you know, certain things you can use websites. You can target by big websites. Institutions, you know, if there are certain trade bodies or something specific to your industry, you can, you know, say like the Accountants Institute, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it is now. You know, the Chartered Surveyors have got one, ARICS or something like that, haven't they? But you know, you could target by people who are all interested in those institutions. Software, that's quite an interesting one. So you're targeting sort of small businesses. Think about probably the sort of software that they use, that they specifically use. So you might target people who've got an interest, say, in QuickBooks and Xero, because they are predominantly used by small businesses. So just targeting those two brands automatically starts you talking to the sort of people who you might be interested in, that fit in with your profile. So again, apps, magazines, all those things. Think about it in a broad sense as to what you can do with audiences. And I probably better stop there.
Well, have we got any questions? I'm sure there's tons of questions.
Stun them into silence.
Any questions that we can answer in 3.5 minutes? We're good. Yeah, round of applause, please.
Thank you.
I'm sure. Go on, Russell.
The third part of the first thing you talk about, direct to the website, is that 100% always the best option to do, or is it to keep? My website doesn't have some of the functionality that the Facebook page does, so I keep them at the Facebook page and get them to book an appointment for me to go and see them.
Yeah.
Am I doing that right?
Yeah. I mean, you using Messenger or using lead ads, it depends on your sort of business and like all those things. It's, test it and see, and get an understanding of your numbers and what your cost per lead is, and then see how you can improve it. Get some benchmark and say, okay, what could I change about the lead ad, or what could I change about the targeting? See if you can get your cost per lead down is always your goal.
Yeah, it's shocking to see some of them get 3 set up, and some of them are 10 times as much as the other. It's like, but I need to
Understand why exactly, get into the end of the details, and that will, once you understand those details and numbers, and whenever you're looking to change something, don't change 3 things at the same time. If you get your audience, ad message, your actual form that people think, only change one thing in order to understand what it is that's making the difference.
Well, the biggest problem that most people make when they are sending traffic to their website is they either send it to the home page, which is wrong. You should always have a landing page specific to each campaign, because then that way you can not only measure it, but you get a chance to tweak the message. Because if they land on your home page should be like a signpost to all of the other important pages on your website. But if those people have clicked on a specific message on an ad, they want to see that message on the same page, the same images, the same headline, the same offer. All of those things have got to be completely in sync, because otherwise people get confused and they go away. Because you know how your website is set up. Oh, they only have to click on that and then go to that page and go to this thing, but they don't know that. So you've got to make it so obvious that it's literally they turn up and they know exactly what happens. So asking yourself the question, what happens next, at every stage is really important.
One other question.
Yeah, go on,
We
Michelle.
spend a lot of money on glossy ads. They are very expensive. And in fact, our Instagram and Facebook and web potentially seems to be driving a lot. Are we in a real transition where we can grab the data and actually see where people come to our website really clearly, rather than always spending £1,000 on a half-page ad for glossy?
I know, and that's the real problem, I guess, with the traditional based advertising media. You haven't got that clear picture of step by step as to what the cost is, so you don't really know what to change next. Well, of course, because everybody else is in it, but actually you can probably target the readership of that magazine, but target them through Facebook instead.
It's a topic that always gets a lot of people along and a lot of people engaged and interested, because who doesn't want more sales? So thanks very much again to Jonathan.
Good.
He'll be around for a little bit.
Yep.
Do give him a round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Helping.